getting back, now it falls on the school. The school does everything for us, which is good. That's how we're learning. Back then, we didn't have a classroom like this. Our classroom was way out into the bush on the land and the waters, and we learned by looking, hearing, and doing things all at once. We did cross-cultural curriculum activities with our parents. There was science, social studies, health, physical education. We all did that. And now we call it cross-cultural stuff. We're slowly, you see, it's all coming back to us because we knew that our parents did that. So that's why now the schools, with the help of the resource people, are getting back to helping our youth to better know themselves, to gain back who they are. Because it's the land that makes you humble. Without the land, we won't be sitting here today. So you have to remember that. Teach your kids. If you know your language, speak a little bit of your language, talk to them in your language every day about everything that you see around you. How to say fish, how to say paddle, how to say all of those things that you see inside the fish. They all have terms. And those of you that can speak Cree, those of you that can speak Finnish, start that. And that's where we will begin to start learning our language. That was our land-based education back then. Today, it's kind of structured by the schools. We're starting to use the resources from the community. We're getting those people involved again. Because at one time they were left out. They didn't want to come to the school for some reason. But now, they're slowly coming in. And those are the people that we need to help us gain back what we knew. So with that, that's my version of land-based, the way I saw it. In Dene we say, if I don't know it, but I'll tell you what I know. That used to be our saying when we first started. So with that, I hope you enjoy our presentation, and I hope you go away and instill something in our youth, because they need to know who they are through the language, through the land. Thank you.
Just to move along from, to continue on from where Ben left off, our team here organized some camps within our area. And how we started those was we started with our team. And our team consists of the catalysts, we have, the consultants, and then the catalysts at the schools. And what we did there was we did a lot of pre-planning. And we came up with the plan. And before we went out in the communities to involve the local resource people, we had to make sure that we were following the right protocols. So we did a lot of collaborating with elders, a lot of local resource people. So in the spring of 2023, we had a camp at the wall cabins, and the theme there was fish. So what we did there was we kind of we connected with the schools, and we reached out to their resource people, people that knew the area. And that's one thing that we have to remember, especially when you're working with the tribal council. When we go out, we have to make sure that we're connecting with the people that know the land. That's our connection. And so that's what we did. And we were able to get a local resource person to do the medicine walk. And then we got another person to do storytelling. And then a couple others that did the elder teachings. And then when we did the fish activity, we did the cross-curricular planning. We went over the templates where we were able to make those connections in different subject areas. So it was a lot of collaborating, but it was all done collectively. And when we did the planning, the elders sat with us to make sure that we were following the right protocols. And that's how it was done back then. As you can see there, we have some display boards that are set up, and that's what we did. Us as language teachers, we put together a word list, a word bank. Okay, what does that consist of? What do we do first? What kind of words can we build from that? And that's what we did. We ended up with over 50 words just from that one activity. And then we started labeling, we started putting them in different categories. As you can see there, you're more than welcome to view them after this presentation. And then here's some pictures of that camp, and you can see our elders. They led the medicine walk, and with this medicine walk, the elders shared their knowledge about the medicines that grew around that area. And then during this camp, we also had another person that came and taught us how to set up the teepee. And there's our elder that did the storytelling, and one of the local resource people from the community that taught us how to pick muskeg. And when we do these medicine walks, the elders, they go through the protocols. And when they teach us about the protocols, they also talk about the teachings, the virtues, about respect, right? Only take what you need. And, and then the purpose of that medicine. And there's the spring camp. The local resource person showed us how to fillet the fish. And these are people that have been doing this for years. And there you have, and everyone that was there participated. We learned how to cut up the fish. We also learned how to cook it in different ways. Then we had another camp, and this was the fall camp. And there, the theme was ducks. So we learned how to make ducks, how to pluck, and how to singe. And again, as language teachers, Cree and Dene, Ben came up with some Dene words, just whatever words you can come up with. Same with Cree. We created a word bank, and from there, the literacy catalysts and the numeracy catalysts picked the words that they could use to make those cross-curricular connections. And also at this camp, we learned how to cook bannock on a stick, how to bake bannock and how to cook bannock over the fire. So we did a lot of cross-curricular connections. At this camp, we had the different catalysts. We had the math catalyst, literacy catalyst, and the language teachers, along with the land-based teachers. And then we also had our MLTC staff. And there's some pictures there, plucking a duck, singeing. And then we also have a display board there where we were able to, as language teachers, we created phrases like plucking a duck, kapasway kasut, sisip. One of the display boards has all the pictures all put in order. Even just starting off with just labeling. How do you say duck in Cree? Sisip. What do you need when you need to singe? What do you need to do? Make a fire, iskutio. Mukuman, knife. And then you start building. And that's what we did at this camp with our catalysts and our language teachers. And then as you can see there, we learned the different ways of bannock making. And again, everybody participated. And then we had our winter camp. And that was, the theme there was fish. We were hoping to have learned how to set the net, but then it was warm. The weather was too warm. But we were fortunate enough to have had a resource person. Actually, he's here with us today, Gerald Kisnwake. He went out and set a net, and he had all the fish ready for this activity. But at this camp, we invited the SBAs, the administration, to come out and participate in this activity. So they could go back to the schools and support the land-based, all these land-based activities, because it takes a team. It can't only be the land-based teacher, nor the language. It has to be done collectively, because that's a part of who we are. So at this camp, we learned how to fillet the fish, cook the fish, all the different ways, bannock making, and again, the holistic and cross-curricular planning. Some pictures there. And again, this activity was led by Charlie Connor and Gerald Kisnwake. There's some pictures there.
I'm just going to talk about the process of how we started this culture camp planning. The idea was to create culture camps, but we wanted to build teams, and we wanted to model and demonstrate a team, and this team consisted of at the MLTC level, the LLRC Cree and Dene consultants, the LLRC math, literacy, science, social consultants, and the elders and resource people. So that was our team that we wanted to model and demonstrate within the schools, so that the schools would model and demonstrate that as well within their schools. They would use the people in the schools who are areas of these subjects that they're expertise in, that they would help with the cross-curricular planning with these culture camps. So what we did, we planned and we delivered 3 culture camps. We met and we collaborated to create unit plan templates. We created a scope and sequence through holistic and cross-curricular planning. in a circular and linear format. So this is our planning team right here that we created these documents. We also used our own MLTC LLRC curriculum guide. We focused on the grade 3 curriculum. So the LLRC curriculum supports the Cree and Dene cultural ways of knowing into daily practices in our schools. And this is the grade 3 one that we used to plan from. The LLRC holistic planning template. Some of you have already been introduced to this before. It was created by Celia DeChambeau in 2020 when she worked with MLTC. So this is a holistic planning template that incorporates connectiveness to oneself, to the family, to the community, to our language, to our culture, and to our natural world, Mother Earth. Within this planning template, it's divided into 4 quadrants: connecting to the spirit, connecting to the mind, connecting to the body, and connecting to the heart. And this is what it looks like. In each quadrant, there's different titles and different ways of how you can use that quadrant when you're planning your cultural activities and your lesson plan or your unit plans. This is a unit plan for fish for the subject of ELA. And what we did was we picked outcomes for each subject area. So this was for ELA. So the outcome that we picked from the LLRC curriculum is LC 32.10. And from there, we picked the activities for each quadrant. So in the quadrant for connecting to the spirit is gutting the fish. Connecting to the mind, the activity we chose was set in a net. Connecting to the body, the activity boat water safety. Connecting to the heart, the activity is a fish fry. And within these planning templates, we came together as a team to help complete this template. In the inner circle is where we needed a lot of help from our language consultants, the Cree and Dene from Ben and Melinda, and also our elders. They helped us fill out the Indigenous values for connecting to the spirit, an example of Indigenous theory, learning from stories and advice. That's an example of what they would learn when they're set in a net. Connecting to the body is the red quadrant. Connection to the land, appreciate and respect the land. So that's what you would teach when you're doing the boat and water safety activity. Connecting to the heart is the self well-being, understanding that learning fish skills can mean survival. So without them, we wouldn't have been able to do this. And I'm very thankful that we came together to fill out these planning templates. The resources that we chose are our knowledge keepers, and each quadrant is different for each activity and is specific for that activity. And the evaluation we used is a triangulation of assessment, the product, observation, and conversation. And each quadrant we developed a Cree and Dene list for that specific activity. This is a linear plan and template for math. The outcome that was chosen for math is from the LLRC curriculum is the SS3 2.2. And what this outcome is demonstrating an understanding of measuring mass in grams and kilograms. And then again, for each quadrant, there was a specific activity. So there's 4 activities within this unit. Is there any questions about these templates and how we plan them? No. Our next step is the lesson planning and the assessment pieces. This is the linear plan and template for a unit plan. And this is what it looks like. So you'd have your subject for this quadrant right here, for the subject area, it would only be math, and you're planning for math. And you would put your LLRC outcome and your indicators in this area. And then for your Indigenous ways of knowing, you'd have your season. So whatever season that you're doing your land-based activity. And then you'd choose your activity, land-based activity or your cultural activity, and connecting to the body. And then you'd have your Indigenous language, your Cree and Dene vocabulary, which is your word list for that particular activity. In the resources column, you would fill out your list of resources that you'd need, and you'd also include your knowledge keepers or your local resource people. And for your evaluation is the triangulations of assessment, product conversation, and observation. So we did this for each subject. We did it for math. And I'm just going to take you to our plan and document. So we sat down and we went through each, we did it with partners, and we just picked, I did the math part, and we did it for each quadrant. Here's the ELA. And the science. This is all for grade 3 from the LLRC curriculum, the social studies for grade 3. Teaching treaties in the classroom, we included this because this goes hand in hand with land-based cultural activities, and it is a part of our history, the treaties. There's the ELA, the science, the social studies, and the cross-curricular plan and template. I'll turn it over to Lillian.
Can you hear me from this? I'm not going to stand up. When we did cross-curricular planning, at first I was at a loss. I was wondering, how do we do this? And then what I did was I just made a link from when I was in the classroom when we were doing thematic units. I thought, well, that's the same thing. Instead of doing spring flowers, you're doing something that's land-based. So you just pick all the materials that you would need. So for language arts, I just took a bunch of books like Dean's Fish. I went fishing with my mushum. the fishing trip, spear fishing. I just grabbed a bunch of other things that you could use when you're, I'm just going to be talking about the language arts part. So that's how we planned holistically. And then what I did was, we as a team, I talked to the other members. So when we planned, we did the language arts, we did the science, we did the social, and we did the math, and we tied everything in together. So next. So when with the planning process, you're using the LLRC curriculum guide, the Indigenous Ways of Knowing, the holistic planning, and the theme. So we picked fish, and we did the season of fall, and the Indigenous languages where we use the Cree and the Dene vocabulary. And then the resources was our local resource people in our communities, because we all have different local resources that we could utilize. So it'll look different for every community. And then when we did our planning, we did the BDAs, the before, the during, and after. I'll kind of go through the ELA with you. So here's the one that's connecting to the body. So you have your gradual release of responsibility, you have your activity, and then you have the before, the I do, the during, we do, and the after, you do. And then you have all your subject areas there. And it makes it a lot easier when you're planning for yourself for your classroom. And so you would have your outcomes out there, the name of the activity. Some examples are you could do story, Indigenous ways of knowing told by an elder or a knowledge keeper, and vocabulary. The we do, you model and you demonstrate. And then after, you reflect. And here's the one we did with connecting to the body. I will do language arts. We did boat and water safety. So before the prior knowledges, we'd have a guest speaker come in, somebody from CERM, to present boat water safety. And maybe a knowledge keeper could come in at the same time, or an elder about the protocols. And then during would be the demonstrations and explaining and writing why boat safety is important. When we did the cross-curricular planning together as a team for language arts, I based all the outcomes on writing. So you were doing descriptive writing using concrete sensory details where they were gutting the fish, or you were writing step-by-step a recipe, you know, so it was all on, all the different quadrants had something to do with writing. And then after we were making connections, we just had a classroom discussion. Oh, this is disconnecting to the mind. She went before me, sorry. So we're doing the gutting the fish, and then before that is where we did a write-up of a step-by-step of gutting a fish. And it's really good there that you have pictorial, so when you're doing it, you can take pictures, and then the kids can see the relationship, like see the picture, and then they can do the write-up. During, you have the demonstration on cutting a fish, and after is where you're retelling what you've learned in your journal. And then for this one, connecting to the heart, is the fish fry. And before is where they would write up a recipe for a fish batter. You could put them in groups and they can come up with their own fish batter, because after you're going to have them show and share their different recipes. But during is you'll follow the instructions on your recipe. And that's how we connected language arts to the 4 quadrants.
So for the language, the learning process uses the Indigenous ways of knowing and the Indigenous ways of doing collectively. Relationships to self, with self, others, and the land are emphasized. So the first step that we usually follow is we connect with our elders. Elders provide guidance, teachings, and history through prayer and story in this process. Number 2, we create the word lists. Word lists are created from the land-based activities. And next step, we have collaborations and discussions with the team, which consists of the elders, resource people, and the MLTC team. And this is where we create the scope in the sequence. Then we move on to cross-curricular planning, and connections are made using, again, the MLTC, LLRC curricular outcomes led by the MLTC team. Cross-curricular planning is a philosophy in education that attempts to put an end to isolated instruction and learning. This type of learning helps engage the whole student with their heart, mind, body, and soul. Language from the land-based activity is then taught and reinforced in the classroom. And this is where a lot of our schools are at. These are the methods that they use in their classrooms. They can either teach it through action, TPR, or they can use ASLA, PWIM, picture word inductive model, where they can use pictures and label. And then we have syllabics, storytelling, SRO, reading and writing, and then we have repeat after me. And then we also have language apps, and that's what we've been working with. And then we have games, songs, dance, arts and crafts. And there's, okay. And this is a snapshot. We borrowed the picture. We have a picture of a tree. We have the roots. And the land teaches and inspires. With gratitude and respect, we thank the land for its teachings of language, history, protocols and laws, connection, circle of life, teachings, values, relationships, community, kinship, and then all the different subject areas: science, health, social studies, literacy, numeracy, arts, understanding of treaties, rights and responsibilities. And then, of course, learning with the elders and our local resources. Learning the elder teachings through prayer and story. And there's an example there of what we did with one of the activities, and we do have the word lists up here. So there we have fish, all the different types of fish. And what Ben and I did was we did the translations. We did the Cree and Dene translations. And then we kind of put them in categories. The different types of fish, the species. And of course, what we did there prior to this was we consulted with elders. What kind of fish do we have in these lakes around the area? And then we have the parts of fish, the fish mouth, the gills, the scales, the eyes. And then we have the anatomy. So those are just some of the examples. And then, of course, going out and setting the net. What kind of tools and equipment? So those are, and that's how we created the word lists. That's how we created the word banks for these activities. And of course, the water, right? The water condition. If it's too wavy out, the safety. We have to take safety into consideration. And then the seasons. There's different types of fishing depending on the season. Weather condition. And then the different ways of processing, right? Smoked, boil, fry, bake.
So there's a lot of displays that are set up. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask questions. We can help you. A lot of those displays, Jan had done these awesome displays in the back there of the fish and the parts of the fish. And these are our culture camps, and those are the words.
Hello.
The curriculum guides are from kindergarten to grade 3. The principals have them. They're in your schools. You should have access to kindergarten to grade 3 for if you're from the MLTC schools. Pardon me? Cumberland House?
Yeah.
The curriculum guides? The curriculum guides are for our schools, and you'll have to get permission from our superintendents for that, to use our documents.
There's usually a land-based calendar. So you'll go from seasons, and that's where the activities are coming from, is a land-based calendar is created by your land-based teachers in your school. I don't know if we'll do one more, but we're promoting it to our schools right now. So we've presented it to the SBAs and our catalysts and language teachers, land-based teachers.
A lot of our schools, like the 9 First Nation schools, they have monthly land-based activities. So what we've done is we've extended, we've expanded. And our next step now, like we have a school exchange land-based camp next week where we're going to be taking one of the schools from the southern communities, a Cree-speaking school, to a Dene school. And we're going to be there for 3 days. And we're going to follow the same process, right? And then after that's done, we'll bring the students from that other school. And this is for the grade 6 students. We're going to bring that other school to this school. So again, we'll follow that same process. And I guess it's just getting that audio, making sure that we have the audio so the teachers can hear, right? They'll have the tools to continue delivering this in their classrooms. But a lot of the schools are doing this. All we're doing is we're building on. Yes. No, no, no. The same process, like the same templates, the planning process. No, we're going to assist. We'll be assisting, we'll be supporting. Yep. Trapping.
Yep.
Yep. Mm-hmm. 3 days, yep. So we'll be leaving on Monday and we'll be there for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Yep. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
And that is our next step,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, that's what we're planning to do is to, after we're done the culture camp, we want to come back and meet with the teachers, and we want to start using our templates and showing them how to plan and bring it back into the classroom, and connect it to our curriculum. Yeah.
Yep. I do believe that is the direction that we're going. So, I, we're not there yet. We only have K-4. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. It was just a matter of time, hey, for when we plan those activities. Yeah. Yes, yes, yeah. Yeah,
You were talking about high school curriculum. There's one section over here that has to do with the biology of nutrition. And it has the three terms and the basic terms and so on.
Any other questions? Iko se, kana naskom tnan. Hi, hi.
Thank you, wonderful team. You guys did awesome.